Hey y'all, this is a precursor to the video you're about to listen to. I know I've done this for the last few videos, but as usual, I listened back and there are things that I wanted to add in, or really in this case, there's just one thing I wanted to add in, which are some there are a few things that I wanted to add in, which are some screenshots in reference to one of the people I was talking about in the video. And also, I just want to explain clearly what you're going to be listening to in the next clip. So this video is about an interaction or an argument I had with someone in my close circle for mentioning someone that's closely not related to her, but someone that she had, has a history with. I mentioned two people that she has a history with, and these two people have the same name. And one of them was used as a gang stalker on me in the gym. So if you want to hear more information about this person that I mentioned that we had the argument about, you can check out this video. The sabotaging and gaslighting of the targeted individual video. Listen to that whole video, y'all. But what I'm talking about was discussed specifically at the end of the video. If you listen to the end of the video, you'll hear about an interaction, a strange interaction that I had with the personal trainer's girlfriend, the personal trainer that I had the issue with, the friction with in the gym, that I've talked about in my recent videos. I had if you've been keeping up with my videos, you know about the situation, y'all. But anyway, I had an interaction with his girlfriend at the end, about 3 weeks ago. And so at the end of that video, you'll hear me talking about it. And in that strange interaction, she was doing directed convo with this person that has a history with this person that's in my close circle. I can't say who the person is. The whole argument we had is because I mentioned her and the person that she has a history with in this video, at the end of this video. And I mentioned it because they used him as a gang stalker on me. And now they're using his name as sensitization. It wasn't about her. It's about me and what they're doing. And I also mentioned a situation between she and I where we're in my room having a conversation, and they were doing gaslighting noise campaigns in the background. And then they even started sending sensitization with the technology after the conversation she and I had. And she herself was including innuendos in the convo. So it's just gaslighting like crazy. They make it like I just sit up and I just randomly start talking about people. They know full well why I'm talking about stuff. And they'll act like they don't know what I'm talking about or why I'm talking about certain things. They're just gaslighting like crazy, y'all. I don't even mention the people in my close circle. This has been so long since I've mentioned them in a video. But something specific happened with that person that I had the argument with tonight. Something specific happened with her and with she and I about 3 weeks ago. And that's what led to me making that video. And then shortly after I made the video, I went to the gym and I had an interaction with the personal trainer's girlfriend. And so I added information or commentary about that at the end of that video. And part of what took place, part of the gang stalking that took place, was the directed convo between the personal trainer's girlfriend and this guy that has a history with this person in my close circle that I had the argument with tonight. So I just wanted to clarify things, y'all, because I know it sounds kind of, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about in the situation and you haven't watched the recent videos that I've created, then it's going to be confusing. That's why I made sure to tell you in the next clip, check out these videos before listening to this video, or else it's going to be confusing. This is kind of like a follow-up to the recent videos I've made. But still, for clarity, I wanted to just come in this beginning clip and say that. So in the next clip, you're going to hear me talking about this argument I had with this person in my close circle for mentioning two people that had a history with her in the past that have the same name. And one of the people they actually they used him on me as a gang stalker in the gym for a while. They even had him at the next door neighbor's house gang stalking because he's friends with the next door neighbor's son. And so that's something that became like this thing in my targeting, where even now to this day, they use his name as sensitization. And she's acting like she doesn't know what's going on and why I mention it in my video. Like I'm just randomly sitting here talking about her. So just for clarity, y'all, I wanted to make that clear. And in the next clip, I do kind of go off on a tangent when I'm talking about one of the gang stalking episodes I had in the gym with this person that had the history with the person in my close circle. You're going to hear me go off on a tangent and talk about another gang stalker that they were using on the same day as that guy. a guy that I have a brief history with that I actually never made a video about. But since I was talking about that other guy, the guy that has the history with the person in my close circle, I remember that on that day, there was also another guy they were using, a guy that I have history with, brief history. I never talked about him. It's so irrelevant to the situation, really. I just went on Facebook and blocked him when they started using him as a gang stalker. But I did decide to talk about him in this video. And so that's also what I wanted to let you know. I'm not going to put it here, but at the end of the video, I'm going to include screenshots of the guy, of messages from the guy. Not the guy that had the history with the person in my close circle. Screenshots of the guy that I went off on the tangent about and talked about that had a history with me. Because I don't want you to get confused. You're going to hear me talking about this person, when they first started using him, and why I think they started trying to sensitize me to him, like use his name specifically out of all the guys they've put on top of me in that gym. Specifically with him, they keep trying to use his name as some sort of sensitization. And so I was just talking about what was different about him versus the other dudes that they put on top of me. Besides the fact that he has a brief history with the person in my close circle that I got in the argument with tonight, it's also something specific that happened with him. They started using him in my neighborhood. So I started telling the story of how that happened, and I ended up going off on a tangent. You're going to hear it in the next clip, where I talk about another gang stalker that was also in the gym that day. And I have a history with him, a brief history. So and at the end of the video, I'm going to include screenshots with messages from that guy that I got in 2021. That was prior to me trying to relocate off island. So that was like the first year of my targeting. So it wasn't viral yet. Not many people knew I was targeted at that time. I didn't even know I was a target. I knew something strange was going on, but I didn't know it was called targeting. And at the time, I was still a teacher. So you're going to see he was messaging me in 2021. Right? So I'm gonna include screenshots of those messages. I learned my lesson about showing screenshots of messages. It's lame. Lame people do stuff like that. I don't do stuff like that. I've never done that in the past. I don't have a history of doing that. But what's happening in my targeting and the things that they do and how they like to insinuate that I'm a liar, I'm very anal about including evidence to validate the things that I'm saying. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm not the kind that's going to show, how much message, if I go through my Facebook right now, in my inbox, I have over 200 messages in there. Maybe even more than that. I don't do that. I've been getting messages for years since I was in my early 20s. Endless messages. Most girls do. I've never took screenshots and put it on blast. Who does that? It's lame. But I felt the need to do it with certain people to defend myself. Anyway, so that's what's going on. I'm going to include some screenshots of the messages between him and I at the end of the video, as a continuation to what I was saying in the video about him. Not the guy, again, that had the history with the person in my close circle. The guy that I went off on a tangent about, that I talk about, that I had a brief history with, that they ended up using for a short stint in the gym as a gang stalker on me. Just another bitter guy from my past that they recruited. There's a lot of guys that I dealt with in the past, even brief interactions, not even, like relationships, that had something against me and I didn't even know it. They either did gang stalking stuff, were recruited easily. It's just crazy, y'all. It's wild. Anyway, so you'll see that clip at the end of the video. All right, peace out, y'all. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new to the channel, please check out the links located in the description box and comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links that lead to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020, as well as links that lead to videos that share information about the targeted individual program, information about the tactics used on targets, information about the technology used on targets, and information about the targeted individual program in general. Y'all, I've been dealing with some crazy shit, the usual that targets deal with for the last few months. Really, the whole summer has been terrible. The targeting has amped up, as I told you all. Only within, I want to say, the last week has it started to kind of not necessarily get better per se, but it seemed to have gotten like a little bit like better, just a little bit. Like a few things happened that made me feel hopeful, but the targeting has been horrible. The whole summer has been terrible. And then specifically the last month after this incident with the personal trainer's girlfriend happened. If y'all have been checking on my recent videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. First, check out the sabotaging and gaslighting of the targeted individual. And then check out my other two videos, the sex tape videos where I was defending myself and the other videos that I posted. So anyways, y'all, it's just been a nightmare. You know how it is when you're targeted. You deal with crazy, weird, delusional shit. You're gaslit. You know, you're dealing with antagonization, harassment, conversations with innuendo, false narratives. You're constantly feeling in defense mode, constantly having to defend yourself. Then you get backlash for defending yourself. It's just a nightmare. The main tactic that they use on targets is gaslighting. That's the main tactic they use on targets. So anyways, y'all, speaking of that, that's what this video is about. I wouldn't plan to make another video anytime soon. The next video I was planning to post was going to be a workout video. That was my plan whenever I get around to it. I haven't been in the mood. I'm just glad to be back in the gym at this point. And as y'all know, some crazy shit took place about a month ago, like I said, with the personal trainer's girlfriend. Anyway, so if you check out my recent videos, like I said, you'll hear what happened with the personal trainer's girlfriend. And if you check out this video, y'all, part 1, another targeted individual documentation video, you'll hear the whole story of what took place between that personal trainer and I at the end of last year that led to a whole year of gang stalking in the gym. This whole year has been filled with gang stalking. I don't even want to talk about the situation again because every time I talk about it, it's like an excuse to stick him on top of me in the gym. And I don't want to deal with that anymore, like ever again, to be honest. I don't have a problem with the person. I just don't even want to be around the person again. Like, so much has happened. I just want to go in and work out, and I wouldn't even feel comfortable working out around him again, to be honest with you. Just too much has happened, and they're pushing all these false narratives. I'm just so over the situation. And so it's like every time I feel like I have to talk about the stupid thing, I feel like it's going to give them an excuse to not try to push him on top of me again in the gym. But it's not specifically about him, this video, but something that took place with him, or his girlfriend rather, led to me talking about this situation with someone in my close circle. She knows full well what's going on. She's watching everything on camera. They all are. She's heard this video before, right? Because you can see when I made the video 3 weeks ago, she's claiming that it was these videos, these sex tape videos where I mentioned someone closely related to her in a situation that happened with her in the past. I don't give a fuck about that. Excuse my language. I'm not meaning to sound vulgar. I'm just so tired of the gaslighting and the stupid shit that I deal with. I don't give a fuck what you have going on in your personal life. The reason I talked about certain things is because of things that are directly correlated with me. And they started using somebody for her, the person I'm talking about, on me as a gang stalker in the gym. And so when the incident with the personal trainer's girlfriend happened, they were doing directed convo with this person. And they tried to create this whole thing with this person that didn't make sense to me. He has nothing to do with me. He's not correlated with me or to me. He's correlated to that person in my close circle. Look at them doing the rooster now. And so that's why I talked about it. So tonight, randomly anyway, right? The person in my close circle, who this person that they used as a gang stalker on me in the gym, is correlated with, she'd randomly come in acting like she's pissed and like she's confronting me about the situation, like she's flipping out. First of all, when I first was making the video 3 weeks ago, she already confronted me in the kitchen and said, "Hey, I heard a video that you were making and I heard you mention so-and-so. Don't talk about me in your videos." Da, da, da. And I said, well, it's not really about you. I know it's related to you, but it's specifically about a situation that I'm dealing with that person. She said, "I don't have time for the craziness." You know, the gaslighting stuff where they don't acknowledge what's going on, even though they know full well what's going on. So I said, okay, no problem. When she said don't mention, because I don't mention them. Ever since my videos got deleted, when another person in my close circle got access to my YouTube account, I was using her device, her computer, to make videos. This was in 2023. She went into my personal YouTube and deleted my videos. Ever since then, I try hard not to mention specific relatives or relationships. If it's something that I can't avoid mentioning the person, then I'll mention them. But typically, I try to keep things anonymous. And I certainly don't mention names usually, but this is specific. There's a reason why I mentioned the person's name. And there's a reason why I talked about what I talked about. You can see the video's 3 hours long, right? Not 4 hours and change. I don't know what she's talking about. And the whole video was about me. It was mainly about me and my career that got sabotaged because she keeps telling me like I give a fuck. You don't give a fuck about my career, so why should I care about yours? I'm not trying to sabotage anything for you. I'm talking about things that are directly correlated with me. It's not like I'm going to your job and saying things. It's not like I'm sending out stuff about you. It's not like I made your reputation get ruined on or tarnished on island like mine is. Anyway, so there was this whole conversation. It's so insensitive too for her to keep bringing up my reputation after what happened to me. You know how pissed that really gets me and upset it gets me? Anyway, so she's like, my reputation, and you're mentioning this and that. First of all, I'd never said her name. Everybody's watching me 24/7. They all know what's going on, and they all know why I talk about the things that I talk about. Everybody's watching 24/7 what's going on, including her. I know she already heard this video. So I don't know what the real tiff is or why she's pretending like she only now heard it and trying to make a fight with me. I know I saw her doing some deadlifts on Facebook, and I was just doing deadlifts on Monday. So I thought, okay, well, maybe she saw me doing that and got motivated, because I had seen her do that before. Like, I was doing Bulgarians, and then I saw her put up a story doing Bulgarians, and she's just getting into working out. So as an older sister, as somebody that's a close relative, I was like, okay, this is cute. She's trying to do whatever. I said, let me give her some advice. So I just wrote underneath, I said, squeeze when you're coming up. Your form looks good. Squeeze when you're coming up. Whatever comment I put, I didn't say anything derogatory or negative. I don't know what the real tiff is. But I was like, okay, she's randomly acting like she's confronting me about this video where I mentioned the person that she's pissed that I mentioned. I specifically mentioned that person because they used him as a gang stalker on me in the gym because of a conversation she and I had back in 2023 when the whole island was watching, and she said all of the things that I said in this video. So fake outrage for what? So anyways, nonetheless, that's why I talked about that person, because they specifically keep trying to use his name as sensitization now, as if something big and humiliating happened with him, when nothing specific happened with him that was any different from any of the other dudes that they stick on top of me in the gym. I don't know anything about that dude. She's the one that, like, whatever happened with her, that's what it was. We were having a conversation about something embarrassing that happened in the past with him in 2023. We're just having a conversation in general about guys we talked to in the past and things that worked out, guys we liked, guys we didn't like, situations that were embarrassing, whatever. Just regular conversation that you have with a close relative. And they took that conversation and they started using some of the guys that we mentioned in that conversation as gang stalkers on me. And so that's what started happening. They randomly used this dude. I don't have a history with him. I don't know anything about him. He's much younger than me. He's not associated with me. And so they used him in the gym as a gang stalker. He started out as this polite gang stalker, just coming around. He wasn't really being as nasty as some of the other dudes they stick on top of me. And you have some of them in there like that are more polite, where they just come around and they're like, doing the gang stalking, but they're not being like overt about it or nasty. And so then I talked about it in this video, y'all. I don't even really want to retell the story. There was a day where they put him on top of me, right? They're getting enraged in the background. They're demonically possessed. I keep saying it's demonic possession that's really taking place here. This is spiritual warfare. It's demonic possession. I'm telling you, and the Most High gonna deal with it too. I keep saying it. I've been saying it for years. Anyway, so nonetheless, so they were using him on me as a gang stalker, and he was just coming around. He's kind of being polite or whatever he was doing. But obvious gang stalker, and it's annoying. I'm so tired of them sticking these dudes on top of me, and it's dudes that I wouldn't even like that. I wouldn't even look twice at. And it's not like he's a bad-looking guy. He's just not my type. It's not the one that I was having a thing with. It was this close relative. But I was never disrespectful because he wasn't disrespectful to me. He wasn't doing over-the-top gang stalking stuff. It wasn't until I went in the back room one day, and they put him back there. He went back there, he came on top of me, and he's smiling at me. And so I got irritated. I didn't feel like it. I'm doing adductors. It's already an awkward workout for me. I feel like the adductors and the hip thrusts, those are two workouts that feel awkward for me. And most females get privacy when they do it. Or at least you don't have a gang stalker on top of you. And so I remember just getting up and just feeling annoyed. I didn't say anything disrespectful. I didn't think anything nasty to the dude. Because remember, they can hear your thoughts, y'all, with the brain-to-computer interface technology. I just simply got up and I left the back room. And I went out to the front room, to the leg extension machine. And so I remember him coming out slowly afterward and going on a machine nearby. And then they had another gang stalker in there, and that one was being nasty. And he was acting like he was guzzling the water and whatever else he was doing. It was this dude, by the way. I never even talked about him in videos because I didn't really want to give it attention. I pretended like I never even saw him, and they stopped using him, thank God. Years ago, this is so random, y'all. I'm not meaning to go off on a tangent. He has the same name. It's such a coincidence as the lady from my job that the embarrassing dream debacle happened with. And I was friends with him on Facebook recently. He was watching my stories and liking my stuff. And so I remember I had just looked at, there was like this video with him playing an instrument on my YouTube. And so I just stopped and I was watching it. They started chirping and making noise in the back. And I said, no, this is my friend from back in the day. I said, it's just a coincidence that he has her name or whatever. So I remember them using him as a gang stalker in the gym like a few times. And I purposely acted like I didn't know who the hell he was. And then eventually they stopped using him, thank God. But I talked to him years ago, back in the day. I'm talking football years. When I was, how old was I when I talked to him? I was in college. This was before I got with my boyfriend, actually. This was like right when I had moved up to Florida. I think I was 19 or 20, something like that. I was very young. I think I was 19 because I remember he was 17. So actually, when I think about it, he's the first younger guy that I ever talked to. I wasn't in a relationship with him, but I talked to him years ago. And I couldn't get past the fact that he was younger than me. Him and I had similar birthdays. His birthday is in December, but it's on Christmas. My birthday is December 22nd. I found out that he had a crush on me all through high school. He's really tall, plays an instrument. This is a decent guy, right? But it was just too young. And back then I didn't date younger. It was just like an absolute no. It wasn't like years later when this whole thing debacle, the cyber stalking, cyberbullying, stupid shit was happening on Island, where I couldn't date too many people because a lot of people were involved. And so I was open to dating younger. Back then, it wasn't a thing for me. I didn't like younger typically. But I remember I had let him get my number and we were talking on the phone for a little bit. And he liked me. I didn't even realize the dude had liked me all in high school. So nonetheless, I ended up kind of cutting things off with him. And I think that's someone else. Kid you not. You can ask my sisters about this. Right now, one of them is having an issue or whatever's going on. But this really happened. I blocked him because I couldn't get past the young thing. And back then, he wasn't totally my type. It was funny back then, man. It just certain things that was going on. It was just mainly that he was way too young for me, really. And then when we were having conversations, I said this to my sisters, he just seemed a little bit too clingy, is what it seemed like back then. That's how it felt back then. Just the personality seemed a little bit too oh my God, this person's home now. Jesus Christ. He just seemed a little too clingy back then. So I never talked to him again, really, after that. We were friends throughout the years on Facebook. I remember after the cyber stalking, cyberbullying situation started happening, I remembered I hung out with him one time. That was years later after we had talked. He was a lot older. I was a lot older. I remember I had hung out with him like 2 times. And I remembered I could tell he knew. He was just acting weird, and some of the stuff he was saying was sensitization. I could tell he knew. But what he didn't do anything too over the top or horrible to say like I would block him on social media or anything like that. But I definitely stopped talking to him again. The second time around was disingenuous, I could tell. The first time we were talking, it was just like, again, I couldn't get past the age thing. It was only 3 years. But back then, I couldn't get past the age thing. And then on top of things, the conversations, he just seemed a little too clingy for me back then, how I was. And the second time around when I was older and I hung out with him like 1 or 2 times, a few years later, like a good bit years later, I could tell he was involved with whatever was happening on Island at that point. So anyways, recently now, again, this is years and years again later, when the targeting started and I got back on Island, I was friends with him before I tried to relocate off Island. We didn't communicate. He liked my pictures. I liked some of his. That was it. We never wrote messages to each other or anything like that. But I noticed recently, I noticed him he kept watching my stories and stuff. And so that's not a big deal. It's not that big of a deal. I just happened to notice, especially because of what his name is. His first name is the same last name or maiden name of the girl from my job that I had the weird dream about. And so I noticed they using him, and I'm pretty sure that's who it was. I purposely wouldn't look. I use my peripheral most of the time when they're using these people on me in the gym. But I'm pretty sure that's who they were using. And he's one of those who was acting real nasty with the gang stalking. It wasn't like this dude for this person, this close person in my close circle that's, gaslighting and acting like she doesn't know why I mentioned the name. It wasn't like him who was actually being polite and you could tell he didn't have any personal feelings involved. He's just in there as a gang stalker. They asked him to do it, obviously, because he was mentioned in one of our conversations. And that's what it was. Whereas with this other dude, he was one of those nasty ones, acting like he guzzling water and acting just horrible and nasty. I was just like, oh my God. There's a lot of dudes from my past that have had issues with me throughout the years, and I didn't even know they were holding on to stuff and having a problem with me. I had no clue, plumb clueless. I didn't even know how many of them there were until I became targeted. And so they easily recruited him, and he was in there doing whatever. I didn't even mention I didn't give it light. I didn't give it attention. I just easily went on Facebook and blocked him. I was just Like, and now I went through my block list the other day. I was looking for someone else, and I saw all of a sudden now he has a plaid shirt in his profile picture. It's just crazy. Anyway, it's just you don't know how many dudes that have done petty stuff since the targeting has started. I was like, God damn, it was a lot of dudes that had an issue with me throughout the years, and I did not freaking know it. That made me start reevaluating, like, damn, was I a cold bitch or something for real? Because a lot of these dudes had an issue with me, and I did not know. Anyway, whatever it is, I'm going off on a tangent. So he was in there guzzling and acting. I'm pretty sure that's who I saw. You know, again, with him, I was purposely using my peripheral and not looking in his direction because he was doing some over-the-top stuff. Because he too came in the back room a day and unlike the dude for the person in my close circle, he didn't smile at me. He was doing some, like, this weird thing where he was staring in the mirror and, like, just really being nasty. Anyway, so I purposely did not acknowledge him. I kept acting like I didn't even recognize him or know who. This is the first time I'm even mentioning him. And the only reason I'm doing it now is because of this gaslighting conversation I had with the person in my close circle where she's trying to gaslight me for mentioning this person that's correlated with her. Like, I just sat on my ass and said, today I want to talk about this person that's correlated with you. As if I she knows my personality. Why would I sit here and randomly talk about you? Anyway, so nonetheless, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent about that other dude. He's completely irrelevant. We never were together. You know, just stupid, dumb. They used him briefly in the gym. He came like 3-4 times and then I stopped seeing him. I think he went back to wherever he was because he wasn't even living down here for a number of years. Anyway, so nonetheless, I forgot what I was going to say. So he was there too. I'm pretty sure that's who it was. There's another tall dude in there that I went to school with. I recognize his face. He looks familiar. I've seen his face before. I know I went to school with him, but I don't know him personally. And he also recently started doing stuff in there. Before he used to be in there and not doing anything. All of a sudden he recently started hopping on the bandwagon and doing stuff too. So it's kind of hard to not confuse the two of them, especially since I was purposely trying not to acknowledge that person that I told you guys I knew that I had talked to years ago briefly as, you know, like a friend or whatever. So I'm not sure if that's who was doing the guzzling thing and acting nasty or if it was that dude, but I think it was that dude, the dude I'm talking about. Anyway, so he was doing that. And then the dude for this person that I'm related to that's flipping out about me talking about him in a video was over there kind of just quiet, humbly doing whatever he was doing. And then I started just rebuking it in the name of Jesus Christ because I felt myself getting angry. And I'm so just like in this angry rant video I just recently posted 5 days ago, I'm so used to them doing antagonizing things and then me reacting like a dummy and getting angry like a human. Let me not say like a dummy and gaslight my own self. Like a human reacting because it's just constant nonstop harassment and then getting painted as a monster and gaslit. So instead that day too, I tried to rebuke it in the name of Jesus. And so it seems like it bothered that person for the person that I'm related to that's flipping out about me talking about these people for her in my video. It seemed like it bothered him. Because he's the one that left. The other one that was guzzling the water and acting nasty stayed there and didn't really even seem to be affected. But he left. He seemed like it bothered him or whatever. He left. And the next, I pull up to my house and I see him coming out of the neighbor's house with trash. And, just my luck sucks. At this time, those neighbors don't even live there anymore. They own the house, but they don't live there anymore. But they were back on island at the time. And when they come back on island, obviously they're going to stay in their house, right? And so we grew up knowing those neighbors. Out of all the neighbors on the street, that family specifically we knew. That was my grandma's best friend. Anyway, so they lived there, and their son is the same age as this guy and went to the same private school, whatever. He came later on. He used to go to a different school, but he came later on and eventually ended up graduating from the same private school we grew up going to. So they all know each other. So that was his in to go to that house and gang stalk me. So because I did the rebuke thing, they used him in that house for 2 weeks. Just out there doing noise campaigns. He got real nasty with it. He was no longer being the humble, quiet gang stalker. He was slamming down stuff in the trash. Every time horrible sensitization would play on the screen to humiliate me, he was slamming shit in the trash. And so I'm just like, oh my God, like seriously? And then they start trying to turn it into this weird thing. I'm like, I don't like this dude. First of all, the day I came home, when he came out and slammed the thing in the trash, I came straight in the house. I didn't give a rat's ass. I cared because I felt uncomfortable, but I didn't give a rat's ass. I ripped my hair out. I had weave in, y'all. I have natural hair and I'm growing my hair. I ripped my weave out and I put on a holy raggy nightgown. You think I'm going to do that if a dude next door that's watching me is there that I like? I don't know what they're trying to create with this thing. And I said that's what I was talking about in that video. And I went into the detail about another guy that has that name that's associated with this close relative of mine. And I said both of those guys with that name were talked about on the bed in 2023 when the whole island was watching. And so I said, I'm surprised they used that one on me in the gym instead of the other one that actually had more of a relation to her. So she acting now tonight like she only now hearing the video. She done confront me in the kitchen about it when I first made the video. Don't talk about me. I said, okay, whatever. I dealt with the gaslighting bullshit. I have not mentioned her again. I'm talking in codes. I didn't mention the names again. I didn't mention our relationship again. She's flipping out. I don't know what it's really about. What she really what the real issue or tiff is. I know I commented on a video. The only thing I can think is the deadlift video. I don't know what the issue is. Why she's pretending like she only now saw it tonight. I don't understand. Anyway, so I had to make a video about the gaslighting, though, because I'm just like, what the hell? She's just randomly attacking me. My reputation. What about my reputation? You didn't give a fuck about my reputation. None of you do. So anyways, it's just weird, crazy stuff, y'all. Gaslighting, delulu weird stuff that I'm dealing with as a target. It's just life of a targeted individual. I had to make a video about it. I just couldn't believe the gaslighting and the random attack, too, because as you can see, the video is from a whole 3 weeks ago. And whenever I make these videos, they're all watching. You can bet your bottom dollar they're all watching. I didn't just randomly talk about him. They're actively using, well, they were actively using, thank God they stopped. They were actively using him as a gang stalker, and now they're trying to create this thing and use the name. So I was defending myself. Anyway, y'all, I'll talk to y'all on the next one, man. I can't deal with it. Life of a target. Peace out. Y'all, I forgot I wanted to add this. Just making that last clip reminded me of this movie that I saw earlier. And the name of the movie is Weapons, y'all. Check it out. It's a very gnarly movie that was created this year. It's on Hulu. If you have a Hulu account, you can watch it for free. It's a real psychological thriller. If you're interested in psychological thrillers mixed with horror, that's the movie for you. It was just a lot of twists and turns. It was a very creepy movie. But nonetheless, in the movie was sensitization, because as y'all know, I used to be a teacher. I taught for years as a substitute teacher. And then when I got in my late 20s, I became an actual teacher at age 28. So that was the start of my teaching career. And then I got targeted, and y'all know the story. The rest is history from there. My reputation ended up getting tarnished on island. I tried to relocate, and the thing attached itself to me, whatever this targeting thing is, and followed me. And that was when I came back to island and started making videos and defending myself. Because it was no longer just a fight for my reputation. It was a fight for my life. Anyway, so I saw this movie today with this, like I said, that same movie, Weapons. And in the movie, it's such a similar theme. It's like, I was like, I wonder if they purposely put this movie for me to see. But I know that's not the case. It's just a coincidence, synchronicity. Because I saw the movie trending. It's a new movie. Literally, it just came out this year. But the lady, if you watch the movie, I don't want to tell you the whole thing, especially if you decide to watch it. I just want to tell you the part that's relative to me. If you check out the same video I mentioned in the last clip, the sabotaging and gaslighting of the targeted individual that I made 3 weeks ago, where you hear how I thought I was going to be teaching again. And it turns out that wasn't the case. But anyway, one of the things that was said to me well, it wasn't said to me. One of the conversations that was had in close proximity to me, directed convo, were references of being unprofessional and doing unprofessional things, gaslighting, because I'm dealing with torment all day long. If you listen to the video, you'll hear the description of what took place and what I did that was considered unprofessional. Well, anyway, in this movie, Weapons, there's a teacher. She's an elementary school teacher, and she was a good teacher, too. She cared about her students. But anyway, this weird thing happened. Again, I don't want to tell you the movie. But all her students ended up disappearing out of her class. One night, in the middle of the night, they got up. Elementary school students, by the way, not even high school students like what I taught. Got up out of their bed and ran out of their parents' house. You know, and the parents were obviously sleeping at that time, so they didn't even know that this happened until morning time. And so it was this big mystery in the town, and everyone was trying to figure out why this teacher specifically, why were her students the one that just, all of them in the middle of the night just got up and ran and left the house. If y'all watch the movie, you'll understand. It's a psychological thriller and a horror story. Remember what I said. So anyway, she was getting all this backlash and hate from the town, and she hadn't done anything. It wasn't her fault. You'll see in the end of the movie what was the cause of the disappearance, right? But what she started to do was drink. She went straight to the liquor store. When things started hitting the fan and everyone started attacking her, she went straight to the liquor store. This is a character, by the way, a character that they created in a movie. So this is to tell you they understand the psyche and what can happen to somebody that's going through psychological warfare or turmoil. There's a term called temporary insanity. These things exist for a reason. There's a reason why they bring psychologists to the courtroom. You have criminal psychologists and you have forensic psychologists, but the criminal psychologists actually do like psych evaluations to see if the person was mentally stable when they did the thing that they did. Can they plead temporary insanity? Because the mental comes into play with things. It matters. If you're going through something that's traumatizing, it will affect the way that you behave. Look at that sex tape part 2 video that I made. You can see that prior to 2020, age 28, I had only had 3 partners in the span of 10 years. And then in the first 2 years of my targeting, 4 partners. Prior to 2020, I had never even gotten a speeding ticket. Then in the first 2 years of my targeting, 3 back-to-back car accidents. These are things that can't be ignored. Anyway, so nonetheless, same thing, same situation with the teaching thing and how I'm acting now, and if it's considered unprofessional or not, me being tormented all day long and acting manic, basically, because that's what it is. That would be the best definition, manic, acting manic. Anyway, so nonetheless, the teacher she was doing worse than me. Not to judge her or anything, she's just a character, not a real person. But in the movie, homegirl went straight to the liquor store. She bought 3 bottles of vodka. She went home. She was drinking vodka like crazy. She was cussing stink like a sailor. She just didn't have cameras on her. And she even went as far as to have an affair with a police officer that was married. So that's to tell you, these are things that you could tell she wouldn't ordinarily do. These things were out of character for her. But she was under duress and stress and dealing with a traumatic experience where she was being attacked by the whole town. So I was like, oh my God, this is relative. And so I remember when I made the point earlier, I was playing the pool game, they started attacking my self-esteem. As soon as I made a good point, they started to attack my self-esteem on the pool game. They started playing against me with these horrible avatars. I was just like, what the heck? Anyway, I wanted to talk about it since earlier, y'all. I was like, oh my God, I want to talk about this in a video, but I just was like, I don't feel like making a video. But then when that thing that I just talked about in the last clip happened and I definitely got motivated enough to make a video, I said, let me talk about this too. I'm like, this is something I wanted to talk about since earlier. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all in the next one, man. Peace out. All right, y'all. So this is a clip that I talked about at the very beginning of the video where I'm going to show you the screenshots of messages that guy sent me. Not the guy, again, that had the past with the person in my close circle that was arguing with me tonight about talking about her and that person in my videos. But the other guy that I went off on the tangent about, that I told you guys I talked to back when I was younger, when I was a teenager. I just wanted to show you screenshots of messages that he sent me in 2021 before the targeting went viral and before I tried to relocate off island, before they were using gang stalkers on me. But I just looked it up. After I talked about him in the video, I decided to look just out of sheer curiosity. I didn't even remember the guy sent me messages. I kid you not. Like, typically I remember with certain things. That's how irrelevant the situation was. I have so many messages, y'all. Not to sound narcissistic. And my nose is stuffy. I'm sorry, I'm congested. I have so many messages in my inbox. A lot of women do. I'm not bragging about that. That's just a common thing in this day and age. This is the technological age. So if you're a young female and you're putting up nice pictures, you're going to get messages. It's not complicated. It's happening to most females. It's not something spectacular. I'm not trying to brag about it, and I'm not the type to, lambaste messages and put people on blast, and this person messaged me and that person. But you know how they gaslight with the targeting, and they paint false narratives, and they call you a liar and this and that. So for me, I'm so scarred from them accusing me and calling me a liar and always making it like it's gaslighting. They know I'm not a liar. They've been studying me for so long at this point. They know I'm not a liar. It's really, again, like I said, what I just said, the key word, accused. They're trying to make me feel accused because they feel like I bear false witness, or like I accuse people, I don't trust people, and I'm like an accusatory person. If you listen to my full story and you've been keeping up with my videos, you'll understand the theme of my targeting and why they make me feel accused or like I'm a liar, why they try to perpetuate that false narrative. So anyways, that's what led to me doing receipts or screenshots of stuff, or, mentioning messages in inbox, because that's lame. I don't do stuff like that. And then to gaslight me for doing it. I have never done that. Prior to 2022, I don't have a history of ever doing that. Mind you, the targeting started in 2020. But I didn't start doing this thing where I'm showing people's messages and this person messaged me and that person as evidence until I came back on island in 2022 and started making videos to defend myself, because the targeting attached itself to me and followed me. And so I created the YouTube. I had the YouTube already, but I created my account, not created an account, but I started to actually introduce myself and make videos and provide commentary on my life and, just defending myself and talking about my crazy situation as a target. So anyway, there are so many messages in there, y'all. I didn't even remember the guy messaged me. This was not one of those situations where I was like, he was even messaging me and this and that year. I actually didn't even remember. It randomly hit my head because I called my sister when I finished making the last clip that you guys heard. And I was asking her if she remembered so-and-so, the same dude. Because she remembers. I know she does. She kind of acted like she didn't say she didn't remember. She said, yeah, I remember him. She said, but okay, so what? What's the big deal? I don't remember everything that happened. Who cares? That was so long ago. Why do you care? This kind of gaslighting thing. And before I even was able to ask her if she remembered him, she was confronting me similar to the other person in my close circle about making this video about my niece. A video I made 2 years ago. Like, I don't know what's going on tonight, but they're all acting like they're just seeing my videos. I don't know what's causing it. It's weird. But anyway, so nonetheless, before I could even ask her about this guy, she was confronting me about that. And her voice was sounding kind of standoffish. So anyways, I said, you guys know I make videos. I'm targeted. You don't acknowledge it, whatever. I said, anyway, I have a question. And she said, okay. And I asked her if she remembered this guy. And I tried not to feed her stuff because, everyone's watching and I want to prove my point. I want to prove I'm not a liar. So she said, yeah, I remember him, but it was so long ago. I know she remembers. She did a similar thing to me that this other person in my close circle, the one that confronted me tonight, did about the bitter ex, where she was acting like she doesn't remember the messages that I showed her. Not messages, it was one message. This big long message he sent, over explaining why he screamed at me on the phone. I showed her the message that night. Anyway, nonetheless, that message was deleted. So I'm so mad I couldn't find that. So these messages were like a treat. I didn't even know these existed. In my head, after I got off the phone with my older sister, because similar to, like I said, that person in my close circle that I had the argument with tonight that made me make this video in the first place, where I was asking her to validate a message that I had shown her from the bitter ex. And you'll know about the bitter ex if you watch my sex tape videos that I recently made where I was defending myself, y'all. Check out those videos. Anyway, I was asking her if she remembers this dude. The dude I'm about to show you the screenshots for, my older sister. I was asking her if she remembers him. She said, yeah, I kind of remember him, but I don't remember specifically what happened. What happened? I said, so you don't remember what happened at the fair? And she said, yeah, I remember you were talking. Something was going on at the fair, but what was it? I don't remember. Like, she's acting like, I know she remembers. But anyway, because she was laughing about it, not this kind of laughing like we were laughing or teasing him. It wasn't like we were bullying him. It wasn't that type of situation like he's calling, I'm laughing. Never. It wasn't that type of situation. I'm not even a mean person like that. But it was more so this thing, like she knows how I am, especially back then, where I get claustrophobic easily in situations. And it's like he was the kind that was calling. He was in high school too. So I don't blame him. He was young. He was 17 and I was 19. I was in college. So this is an older college girl that you're talking to. But he kept calling me, and I was at the fair in Tallahassee with my niece and my older sister, trying to have a good time. And he kept calling. I kept saying, I'm at the fair still. I'll call you back. Not too much time would pass. He calling again. So I remember my sister kind of laughing about it. She remembers him. I know she does. Anyway, so even the other person in my close circle who confronted me about, making the video mentioning her and the guy, right, that she had whatever way in the past that this video is about. Even she remembers, because I remember when she was going to school down here, she was telling me about that dude. She purposely came and told me because she knows about my history with him. And she was telling me that either he was checking her out or he tried to talk to her. I can't remember what she told me. Something with him. Either he was like checking her out, or he wrote her a message on Facebook, or he hit on her in person. I don't remember what it was. But she told me about it because she remembers my history with him. Anyway, so let me show y'all these messages. I didn't know the man was holding a grudge. Like I said in the last clip, I did know that he started to get or participate in what was happening on island with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying dude. Because I remember years later, after us, after we stopped talking, I remember he had reached out again and we started talking again on a friend level. It's not like we were dating, we weren't together. Again, it was a friend level, but this time it was disingenuous. Like I remember I was back on island at this point. I think I was in my mid-20s at this point. And he was back on island and we hung out 2 times. I remember he had like this show where he was playing his instrument. I don't want to say the instrument because it's kind of like I'm giving the person away. It's like this unique thing that he does. He plays an instrument down here. I think he's well known at this point. He plays really well. It's to the point where I think he was teaching music at Berkeley. And the reason I know this is because I was friends with him on Facebook throughout the years. He was teaching when I was teaching. So anyways, I remember I hung out with him and I didn't know the dude was holding a grudge against me, nor did I know he would have been a part of what was going on with the cyberstalking, cyberbullying dude. And so I remembered I went to this neighborhood that's near the neighborhood I live in, where he was living, and I sat in the pool with him and I was hanging out with him and he was just doing weird stuff. I could just tell, I always could tell when these dudes knew about that thing. They would just be doing weird stuff and saying weird things. I could just tell and feel the energy. He knew about it. And then the second time I went to his show, that was brief. I just sat in the audience and then when he was done, he gave me a hug and then I left. That was, that wasn't anything significant. But after that, it's like we didn't continue talking. I could tell I could tell it was disingenuous the second time around. And so throughout the years, we've been friends on Facebook. He's always watching my stuff, liking my stuff. I like his stuff. I didn't hold a grudge against him. Apparently, he held one against me, though. So we used him as a gang stalker in the gym. I was like, and the way he was acting, I was like, damn, it's not even like he was acting like cordial or polite or humble like this person for the person in my close circle before he started getting nasty. He was one of those that was acting nasty, guzzling the water and just acting nasty, man. You could tell he had a problem with me. I was like, whoa. Anyway, so I just now though, when I got off the phone with my sister, I didn't feel like she confirmed it securely enough for me. Like I'm just very anal about providing evidence when I say stuff. And because she was kind of acting funny in the conversation, I felt like, let me see if he sent me messages, because I know throughout the years he sent me messages. Like it's been throughout the years. So I said, let me see if he sent me a message. I can't remember. So I unblocked him. I went on Facebook and I unblocked him. And I typed his name into the message box. And lo and behold, right before I tried to relocate off island, a year before I tried to relocate off island, I have a bunch of messages that he sent me. You can see he messaged me first every time. And then towards the latter months of him messaging me, you can see that he used the word great. I don't know if that was him using the cyber stalking, cyberbullying sensitization, or if it was a coincidence. But you'll see. I'm going to show you. I make sure to scratch his name out in his picture out. But he has a plaid shirt on in his profile picture now that I've blocked him. All the time I was friends with him, the man wasn't wearing the sensitizing stuff. Now that I blocked him, he has a whole plaid shirt on in his profile picture. Anyway, so this, you can see the first message he sent was May 16th, 2021. Remember, I created this Facebook account April of 2021. Let me show you. This was a new Facebook account. There was like a good year or 2 that I was off of Facebook. I had took like this break off of social media. And then I recreated my Facebook in April. So y'all can see, I'll show you, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to click on that. Joined April 2021. You see that? Here it is. You see that creation date, April 28, 2021. And he messaged me in May, a month after. So May 16th, 2021, I just got looking eyes from him. He sent me the looking eyes. So you can see, excuse me, I need to blow my nose, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm laying on my back and I'm congested. You can see I sent an emoji. I just sent a shrugging emoji. That's all I sent. Because I'm not holding a grudge against the dude. I don't have an issue with him. And although I could tell he was years ago when I hung out with him, he was kind of like doing stuff like what the other dudes were doing. He wasn't really too nasty about it. I wasn't holding a grudge against him. And I have no issue with him. So then now again, he sent me a message June 2nd. Hard eyes. I believe that was on one of my stories. Like a lot of dudes will comment on your story. Like if they love it, or they can either love it and you're not going to get a message, or they can choose to send a message where they send like hard eyes. And so it's going to come through as a message. So I believe that's what these were. I believe these were reactions to stories of myself that I was posting. So anyway, he sent hard eyes June 2nd. I loved it, right? June 16th, he said a bunch of hard eyes. Another story I must have put up of myself. I loved it. July 4th. Sorry, that was June 16th. He sent hard. Okay, July 4th. He sent the same hard eyes. That's why I'm getting confused. You can see it's a different set of hard eyes. So June 16th, he sent hard eyes. Then July 4th, he sent hard eyes, and I sent a heart back. So then September 4th now, he said, "Good morning. Have a great weekend." He wrote me that message. You can see I just hearted it. I didn't answer. Then on December 22nd, for my birthday, 2021, he wrote me happy birthday. You can see I just loved it. No, I think I answered him. I said thank you with an exclamation mark. So that's to tell you. It's just crazy. He wasn't doing any weird stuff, right? He did use the word great. But all of a sudden I see that they're using him as a gang stalker. This was a couple months ago. It was just out of nowhere, and I know why they did it. Because he was friends with me on Facebook. And similar to what he was doing back then, he was looking at my stories. Every story I posted, he was watching, and he was loving it, which is not a problem. Because you have to understand the whole island's watching me. So when I say things like this and it's recorded and everybody's watching, that makes people not want to watch your story anymore. Not like you have to watch it. I don't give a rat's ass. I wish actually everyone would take the cameras off me and I could live a peaceful, anonymous life. But it's not a good look me doing this, but I'm just defending myself about the guy because they used him as a gang stalker. But similar to what he was doing back there in 2021, he was looking at all my stories and hearting all of them, which is not a big deal. Not a big deal. Again, it's just now you turn around and be a gang stalker? Anyway, so he was hearting all my stories and stuff, and in my newsfeed, I saw he had put up a video of himself playing his instrument. So I was just watching the video. I heard them chirping the bird and going ham in the background. I said, I know why y'all are doing this, because he has the same name as, remember I told you, his first name is the same name as her maiden name is the same name as his first name, the lady from my job that I had the dream about and they made weird stuff about. I said, I know why y'all are doing that. It's the name. I said, I know him. This is a friend from the past. I said, tell you, I wasn't even looking at him as like an enemy or anything like that. I didn't feel nothing about the dude. I said, this is a friend from my past. All of a sudden, I see the dude in the gym. They're using him. All of a sudden, he ain't watching my stories no more. He would not watch my stories anymore. I'm like, what? I blocked him one time. It's just crazy. They keep recruiting people. It's weird. But this is why I also said it's like this actual concerted effort to keep you isolated. Now, he probably had an issue with me for years from what happened when we were teenagers and I didn't know it. But the point is, it's like this concerted effort to keep you isolated because look how they recruited him just because I was simply watching his video and they saw him watching my stories. And then they'll gaslight you about being single and this and that when you're in a small community where when they're actually, I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to stammer. You're in a small community and you're targeted. And that's a tactic that they're using. They actually isolate you. I told y'all already in one of the recent videos, I was driving on the road and I happened to look up and see this dude back in the corner. He's looking in the car at me and they dived the bird down. I was like, what the heck? Another thing too, I think last year I was at the bus stop talking to this dude, another dude I went to school with, and he plays basketball. He wasn't even hitting on me. We were just having regular conversation about stuff like basketball and irrelevant shit. They revving behind the road and they glaring at the dude. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, y'all, so I had to show y'all what's going on though, just to verify what I said about the guy. It's just craziness. Anyway, I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out. One more thing, I just had to add how that proves that I'm not thirsty though. The Urban Dictionary definition of the word. I mean, you can see he was messaging me and I was just loving his stuff. At most, sometimes I would send back one emoji, but for the most part, I was just loving the message. I didn't say, hey, you're writing me. The dude's not bad looking. He's actually what would be classified as my type. He's the red-brown. He's tall. He plays an instrument. He was a teacher. You know how much dudes I know from the past like that used to send stuff before my stuff went viral. I'm talking before I was the target that I am now, and I would just like send little simple messages back. So I'm like, I know the life I lived. It's like they're trying to like make me have this warped sense of self and warp like the life that I've lived, and I know the life I lived. So I'm like, I'm not trying to be like that, but it's just the fact that he was actually in there as a gang stalker acting like he's guzzling water. I'm like, what? Really? You of all people? Again, I'm not trying to like sound judgmental or anything. It's just the history I have with him, which is not a very in-depth one either. But still, I'm just like, out of the two of us, the interactions we've had in the past, you were the thirsty one. And again, that sounds bitchy, but it's just the mean kind of way he was moving in there. I actually remember that, thinking that in my head. I actually didn't make a video about it or land blast it. I didn't even remember he sent me messages. That's to tell you. I only decided to talk about it tonight because I was talking about that other thing, and I remembered he was there that day when the other dude for that person in my close circle was there. I'm just like, it's just this complete false narrative. There's so many false narratives and warped perceptions. Anyway, talk to you. Peace out.